Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Choir Success. Stay tuned to learn about one of the largest and most unique organizations in the entire choir world. Joining me today from Nashville, Tennessee is Marty Monson, the CEO of the Barbershop Harmony Society. And if you appreciate us creating content for choir leaders, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for future updates. Marty, how wonderful to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be with you and all your followers and listeners.
All of my followers and listeners, yeah. I think they're going to really enjoy hearing what you have to say and learning about the Barbershop Harmony Society a bit. And so how long have you actually been at the helm of the society?
Now, just a little over 10 years. Time flies, man.
Right, right. Well, it's been a very eventful 10 years as well.
Yes, it has. Hopefully for the good, right? As everybody says, progressing an organization, making some impact.
Yeah, well, exactly. And a lot of big changes. And we'll maybe get into some of that going forward. But just for the uninitiated, what is the Barbershop Harmony Society?
You can think of the Barbershop Harmony Society. It's a society. So we tend to think of it as a community of communities. We are made up of multiple ensembles, choruses, and quartets primarily, that get together on a frequent basis. Might be weekly, might be monthly, might be quarterly, might be just once a year for having fun and ringing some tags. But it's a community of people who love to sing. And our mission is bringing people together in harmony and fellowship to enrich lives through singing, of course, through the barbershop style.
Right. And so that's really the key, right, is that it's a particular style of music. And so I'm a music judge in the organization, just, full disclosure. But for regular people, not music judges, what is barbershop music? How would you know you were listening to barbershop music if you didn't know what it was?
Well, for one, I think even though maybe early in the days, even before the organization came about, people would argue whether or not it's a cappella or not, but it's primarily an a cappella form of singing, meaning no instrumentation. And the other basic kind of essential to barbershop is that the melody line is in the second part from the top. And so from a harmony of where the melody lies, there's harmony going above that part, and then there's harmony going down below. And then that baritone part sings in between and flip-flops the time with that wonderful, wonderful chord making of joy of the barbershop harmony.
Right, right. And because of the melody in the middle and all of that, it's very close, like the parts can be really close together compared to SATB. I'm going to try really hard not to get too technical here.
Well, you could probably answer it a heck of a lot better than me, Tom, when it comes to being a music judge. I got a little bit of music theory in my life with my music minor, but those were a long time ago. But, it's a fun style of music. It's just like there's other styles of arranging, and we can take pretty much about any song and shop it, if you will.
Right.
Like varying degrees of success. But that's kind of the joy about taking any type of form of music or genre and shopping it.
Right. Well, and in fact, a lot more music has been shopped in the last 10 or 15 years than I remember from when I joined the society in 1987, I guess. So I've been around a while,
Yeah.
But it used to be that there was that people would be confused between barbershop is a time period, right? Like the quartet, the Buffalo Bills in the movie again, The Music Man, right? Like with particular garb and all that stuff. And of course I sit down and judge contests on a pretty regular basis, and we're hearing all kinds of interesting music that's done in that close harmony style. Nothing like it was in 1987.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And I think that's what the joy of evolution, that it isn't a period of time or a certain a decade of time or a century of time where music was maybe more designed to be barbershopped a little bit more to really hear those chords. But, I think it's gone along. And I think that's, one of the biggest challenges that we have is that as new music is introduced, how do we apply the barbershop style to these other new genres and styles of music out there? And that does take some creativity when it comes to new styles that have never been, or genres that have ever been created before.
Right, right.
Will never stop. Music will never stop being created, right? And that's the clash of new things and coming out, and then wow, could we shop that?
Right. I confess that no matter what I'm listening to, whether it's on the radio and it's pop music, and I'm just constantly thinking, how would this be to sing in four parts? Like, could I make an arrangement and do this? I think it would be, it's like I cannot turn off that part of my brain.
Well, you're not alone, I don't think, there, Tom.
Yeah.
I don't think you're alone.
Anyway, let's switch gears here and talk about demographics a little bit. So, who are the members of the Barbershop Harmony Society today?
So the members, being an 85-year-old organization, the members of the organization are synonymous with the singers. These are the people who immerse themselves on a weekly, monthly basis, that take songs and get together, and a minimum of four, obviously a quartet.
Yeah.
And they come from all walks of life, all ages. Probably historically, people may think the Barbershop Harmony Society is a male organization that has been, and it has been up until 2017, where we opened up the organization to everyone. And
Right.
We've always had this wonderful demographic of intergenerational, some more courses and more quartets being more intergenerational than others. But it's a really fun environment where you can ring chords with anybody. And close your eyes and just enjoy the moment, no matter what might you have in common or what you might have in differences. And so,
Right.
but primarily we're North America. Our membership is in the United States and Canada. We do have members all around the world, but primarily they are here in North America, and that was where we focus our ensemble work. And then we provide supportive services and global exposure to not necessarily members, but to a broader interested people in barbershop all around the world, where we have alliance organizations in 14 different countries, and barbershop being sung in over 30 more countries above that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so as you mentioned, the probably the most well-known change in the last little while is it's no longer a strictly male organization. And how is that working out for mixed groups? Like I've seen a bunch of them, and a lot of them have been killing it, doing really well. I judged one particular contest in where was I? Mid-Atlantic District, and I think the winning quartet was GQ, all women, right? And then mixed choruses who were doing amazing stuff.
Yeah, we're seeing that, and we're seeing the women's groups coming together, quartets and choruses. We're seeing the mixed, probably the most popular, and I would say before we even made the change and welcomed everyone into the organization, there were a lot of men's courses that were declining in membership, or maybe not have all four parts, and they were bending the rules, I guess, maybe behind the curtain, yeah, if you will, or out in front, but just they really wanted to keep singing barbershop. And so maybe a wife or a daughter or a granddaughter might come in and sing and fill out the parts. And right. So once we opened it all up, we have seen tremendous growth in the mixed area, slower growth with women participating as women ensembles, but certainly in the all voices or an open category where all voices are come in for a mixed kind of singing experience, that has really grown. And so we're over 100 choruses since we launched that in 2018 in just the mixed area. But a lot of that just shifted for some of the men's, just they finally could be fully transparent and saying, hey, we are now a mixed, and we always have been, but we've been able to survive. And so now instead of just playing behind the scenes, they can actually go be out in front and open and get into that thriving space once again, because mixed barbershop is still a fairly new phenomenon and new kind of style of barbershopping.
Right. Well, I mean, I sing in a mixed quartet called Metzing Around with my brother and my sister and my sister's husband, my brother-in-law. And so I'm no stranger to it. I really enjoy it. But, structurally, I also know that there's a bunch of multi-choir organizations, if you will. Like, for example, the Voices of Gotham and the Sirens of Gotham. I don't know if they're literally part of the same organization, but they're definitely strongly related, and one of them is men's and one of them is women's, right?
Yeah, yeah. And we're seeing more of that. We have chapters, which is kind of the governing entity, the 501c3 in the United States, or the nonprofit up in Canada.
Hmm.
where they can have multiple ensembles underneath that incorporated nonprofit, and that provides scale and volunteers.
Right.
It's nice to have a singular marketing person to kind of do two things, at the same time, because it's tough to find volunteers these days. I mean, people are torn to volunteer in so many different areas. And so this provides some scale. It also adds some complexity. It's not easy. You
Right.
have artistic endeavors for this group, and you have artistic endeavors for this group, and hopefully they're unique enough and different enough that it attracts more people, that abundance like thinking, than, hey, I'm stealing from this one, I'm stealing from that one. I mean, there's
Right. Right.
millions of people out in the world, right? How do we get more people singing? That is, and singing together, that is really the mission and the goal.
Yeah, and of course, getting to scale, a certain scale is, and therefore being able to share resources, at least at the administrative level, but presumably even at the musical level, that's really key to success because it's easier when you're big.
Yes, yes, yep, exactly. And today, to support a community choir, whether it's a barbershop community choir or any other community, it takes volunteers. It takes a support system. And
Yeah.
how do you embrace all that in today's world, especially coming after a pandemic that just shut us all down for so long, and we became that super emitter, new four-letter word,
Oh
that
gosh.
at least we're getting
Yeah.
out from under, and moving back to people singing and gathering together again.
Ah, great segue into one of my favorite things to do every year is to go to the international convention. And I've missed only like a couple since 1980, 87. I've been to most of them. And my first one competing was in Louisville. And this next one is going to be in Louisville as well, right? Also, the first one with real time was Louisville. Louisville is kind of like a big thing for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're excited to be
But
back
let's
this summer.
Yeah, but let's go back a year because Charlotte was the first convention in a while because of the pandemic. You used the P word first; it wasn't me.
Right, right.
And and I feel like it was different than some of the previous ones. There was more of a festival attitude going on.
There was, because I think what we experimented, and we wanted to experiment before the pandemic with our convention that ended up getting canceled, is we wanted to experiment with a festival environment where you're not competing to win the crown and that gold medal kind of thing, but you're actually just competing or singing as joy and singing your best repertoire. And then you
Right.
can still be evaluated in that way and still get feedback, get coaching. How do I get better? And plus, you're in front of a very immersed and excited group of people. I mean, for this first time, we offered this on I believe it was the Thursday or Friday. I'm forgetting now at this point, but we had probably 20, 25 groups, and there were 6, 7, maybe 1,000 people in the room to cheer on this wonderful harmony and just have a different experience. And so for people who don't like that competition kind of mindset, but just love to get out and entertain the best music that they do, this provided a great opportunity to start encouraging people to come and participate at the international convention, where we have 5 to 6,000 people to get together for 4 or 5 days and have fun, not just in that performance, but also the off hours where, as barbershoppers know, y'all, if you've never heard of a barbershop tag or tagging, that's the informal time and the social time that we really spend a lot of time to get to know people we've never met before and ring a couple chords together.
Right, right, absolutely. Some of my very favorite memories at convention are from doing exactly that. Yeah, so let's talk a second. Oh, actually, I wanted to go back for something you said about the feedback that groups receive, that they received in Charlotte and basically at any contest or convention. I remember years ago I was involved in the CASA organization and what were we doing? That's right. So Real Time was competing in the Harmony Sweepstakes, and we were out afterwards and having a beer or whatever with a bunch of the other groups. And I was explaining the whole thing where the judging community provides coaching after the fact. And it kind of blew their mind, like how amazing it would be to have experienced musical people to go, okay, you did this well, here's one way you could improve. And how much better the a cappella world would be if they had that kind of structure that we maybe take for granted sometimes.
Well, I think that's one of the very unique and special things of the Barbershop Harmony Society, that while the word is judge and we do judge, it's really about translating the judging into something that can be helpful.
Yeah.
How can you improve? How can you get better? What were the things that you want to celebrate? You know, the glows and grows, right? You want to encourage people to keep getting together and do this, but then you give them an opportunity for growth. I mean, one of the culturistic things that we have here is, you, no matter what age, you want to learn. You want to master a piece of music together, not just yourself, but as an ensemble.
As a team sport.
Oh, it is a total team sport. And, you know, and I think it's not just in the other a cappella world, but I think it's in just in general of music, music, you know, you have small, large group contests when you're in middle school and high school, and maybe even certain levels of collegiate setting. But, you know, where does that kind of same thing evolve into when you go through all that? Where do you get the evaluation that you can just really work with these people, and the directors get to get feedback too, because it's not all just about the ensemble, but it's the person who is actually out front and conveying that message and encouraging that artistry to, you know, remove all the work that you did from the rehearsal and just say, hey, we're here to entertain for you, and get it
Right.
beyond those footlights. And I think that's, we have such a unique part of our training, even though we call it judges. That training and evaluation in that one-on-one setting is the most valuable for people who want to get better and just to feel good about how you're progressing, versus just translating to a score that I came in first place, or I came in 10th place, you know, or last place, you know. And those are the things that we do because we are encouraging. We want people to keep coming back and singing again and again and again. They want the positive experience. It's not the trophy, like everybody gets a trophy, but it's actually from a learning mindset. We want to get better. We want to master a performance together. That's why we're here.
Yeah, for sure. So let's, given the cultural backdrop here of most choral organizations, I would say, are struggling, especially with standard models that used to work really, really well. But some BHS chapters, it would be fair to say, are succeeding and growing and doing great things. What, in your mind, are they doing differently that helps them to be successful?
Well, there are a couple things. One, you got to know who you are, right? So what is your identity? What kind of group or ensemble are you trying to become, or that you want to be? Whether you're a quartet, every quartet has its own identity of what you want to do, what kind of music, what, you know, what kind of performances, all those kind of things. And the same thing with any chorus that gets together on ensemble. So knowing your identity and being really strong and supportive, and that you rally everyone around that identity, and your actions and what you do and the music that you select, that's key and number one. Because when you really know what that is, it gets people excited. Secondly, I think it's just understanding then, once you have that identity, how do you evolve over time? You know, we're an 85-year-old organization, and some of our ensembles and our courses, and even some quartets, might be a couple decades long, or some of our courses are going to be celebrating 8 decades together. And you think about why are they successful? Well, they've evolved over time. They have adjusted as new generations have come into play, you know, and that's the flexibility to ensuring that you can evolve while still staying core root to an identity of who you are and how you're serving your own community in your backyard. Because again, the mission is to get people to sing together in these local communities through the barbershop style, and probably some other styles too, because not everybody sings all straight barbershop all the time, but just bring some joy and entertainment in the backyard. And when they do that successfully, people feel happy. People feel joyful. Even if you're not singing, you're in the audience, and you experience those positive endorphins that go, I can now tackle on the challenges of the day because I was recharged. I experienced joy today, and that was a lot of fun. So those are the entities that are successful and growing. They have evolved into those things by knowing who they are, and then translating that to evolving that over time.
Right.
New generations that come in.
Yeah, that's actually universal advice, I would say, for almost any kind of organization, right? Is knowing what you're all about, why you do what you do, and then trying to be better at it.
Yeah. So true. Basic, simple block and tackling, as they say.
There you go. And so going forward for the Barbershop Harmony Society, what are some of the plans and challenges that you see in the next little while?
Well, certainly the plans are to continue to let, from our main mission of all this is to let more people know about what is the barbershop style. What are the barbershop entities? I mean, you still do. I mean, I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I walk down to Broadway every once in a while, and maybe I'm wearing something that says barbershop, and they go, barbershop, what is that? Or they see the Rockwell outside of our building, and they go, haircut? What's, they don't translate always to singing, right? And singing together as a quartet until they hear the music or till they see a video. So we still have a huge plan to continue to go out with the megaphones of saying, here's what barbershop is. You never had any idea, but here's a lot of fun that you can have. That's number one. I think what the challenges is that there's a lot of things that people can do with their time these days. Since the evolution of the internet and all those kind of things, people have lots of things that they can do with their discretionary time and income. And how do we bring value to that? How do the local ensembles bring value to that they choose this over something else? That is the biggest challenge that we have is, recruitment and encouragement of more people doing this.
Right.
So that we can achieve the mission and really grow the awareness and the joy of the style of music. Barbershop will never die, but the organizations that we've established, that's what comes in and out. And we have a job here from a corporate perspective is to support those ensembles over time and even establish new ones constantly, so that we can encourage more of this, that it lives on in perpetuity. And that's our challenge, though, is to evolve, just like I said of the ensembles earlier. We have to evolve with that as well. And not everybody knows. So that's the biggest opportunity of abundance thinking versus scarcity thinking. There's only so many singers out there in the world. No. Yes, there is so many singers. And I believe everybody was born as singers. They just don't know it yet. Right. Which I say the same thing about they're a barbershop, or they just haven't been introduced to.
There you go. Well, that's probably a good place to leave it. I think that's a very positive and hopeful way to see the future. And I'm going to do my part and keep re-upping my membership.
Yay! Thank you, Tom.
One at a time.
And the quartet too.
Yeah, and the quartet. Absolutely. Thanks so much, Marty, for being on the show.
Thank you, Tom.
And thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed that interview. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover or a person you'd like me to interview, please write it down in the comments. My name is Tom Metzger, and I hope your day is full of singing.